Are you feeling a little restless, yearning for something new and exciting in your life? Perhaps you're searching for a place to call home that offers the safety and security of your family. Well, I'm going to encourage you to look no further than the picturesque state of Maine. In this video, I'm going to take you into my computer on a virtual tour of Southern Maine through the eyes of me, a Mainer and a lifelong resident. As someone who was born and raised here, I have a unique perspective of what makes Maine such a special place and why it's such a great place to call home. Get ready to discover the hidden gems and natural beauty of Southern Maine and all it has to offer. And if you stay until the end, I'm going to reveal two incredible benefits of living in Maine that even some of the locals don't know about. One's going to be a little controversial, but that's okay. So sit back, relax, grab your popcorn because it's going to be a little long, and join me on this thrilling journey through one of the most breathtaking places in the country. Let's explore Southern Maine together, and who knows, you just might think this is the perfect place for you to create new memories and new adventures. Hopefully you're ready, because we're going to get after it right now. Welcome to the channel, everyone. If this is your first time here and you want to learn everything there is to know about living, working, eating, playing, and exploring this amazing state, well, hit the subscribe button below and tap that notification bell so you can be the first to learn what life is like in Southern Maine. We'll be dropping content probably twice a week, so you'll have a good idea if you watch a few of these episodes. Guys, my name is Scott, and my team and I, we get calls, texts, emails all the time asking what it's like to live in Maine. You know, it's kind of funny, some of the questions, as you can imagine, is how much snow do you get? How cold does it get up here? What are the bugs like? What do people do for a living? But the most ironic question we get, the one that's totally out in left field, that's abstract, is the Maine lobster really that good? Folks, it's really that good. Now, I'm not a big Maine lobster fan. I'm not a big lobster fan to begin with. Give me a great piece of thick steak and I'll take that. But my wife, my kids, my sisters, my brothers, they all love Maine lobster. And guess what I get stuck doing? Cracking it all open and giving it to them the lazy way so they don't have to get messy. Listen, we always have all the answers to all the questions to help people educate themselves if they've never been here or if they've never visited here. So whether you're thinking about moving here in 5 months, 5 days, 5 years, give us a call, shoot us a text, even book a Zoom call with us and we can answer all those questions to help you make a very smooth move to Maine. We've created this channel because what we've discovered that while Maine is not as much of a secret anymore, in fact, according to a study migration of patterns that were done by Atlas Van Moving Lines, Maine ranks second with the highest percentage of inbound moves in 2022, only behind North Carolina. Many people still don't know what Maine is like. As a matter of fact, about a month ago, I got a call asking, do we even have electricity? Now, I know that person was kind of being funny, but it underlines what a lot of people have thought about Maine in the past. It's a great place to go camping, a great place to go hunting, go fishing, maybe on a ski trip in the winter. But living in Maine, I don't know about that. Well, folks, the secret is out, and we're seeing a lot of people from New York, Massachusetts, Illinois, California. They're all moving here. In fact, I met 2 people in the last week. One was from Austin, Texas, and one was from Naples, Florida, that moved to Maine. Yes, Maine has become one of those desirable states to move to. But as I said in the opening, I'm going to head back into my office and I'm going to dive into my computer and show you around the state of Southern Maine. So if you're ready, let's get after that and go in there right now. All right, guys, what I wanted to do is here we are sitting on my computer, and bear with me because this is going to be the first time I've actually done this and posted it to a video, so it may be a little bumpy, but I'm just asking you for a little bit of patience as we talk about Southern Maine. But before I get started into Southern Maine, I wanted to show you the entire state as a whole. As you can see, it's a decent sized state. It takes about 5 to 6 hours to get from the New Hampshire-Maine border. Let me just turn this on. From the New Hampshire-Maine border all the way up to kind of northern Maine. And believe me, I've made that drive. So it's not a straight shot. Obviously, once you get up 95, you're going to hit some of these other side roads. Right here is one of the major ones. You know, it's not like on an interstate. So I'd say the slowest part of that drive is once you get up here, all these winding roads and whatnot. But Southern Maine is really, when we're talking about Southern Maine, we're kind of talking about this part of the state right through here. And a lot of people, especially the ones from Northern Maine, the ones people that live up in this area, they're going to call this Northern Massachusetts. So I'm going to give them their props. If we call this Northern Massachusetts, since Maine did succeed from Massachusetts in 1820, if we're going to call this Northern Massachusetts, then we're going to call this Canada, because there's definitely two big distinctions between Southern Maine and Northern Maine. In Northern Maine, you got potato farms and you got logging, which is kind of the two biggest industries in Northern Maine. Irvin Logging Oil Company up here. They're a massive employer up here. A lot of logging, a lot of wood. Obviously, you got all the lakes, you got hunting, fishing, all that stuff. And then you got the potato farmers kind of in this section of Northern Maine. And actually, Maine potatoes are ranked second, I believe, behind Idaho in terms of how many potatoes are harvested and sold throughout the world, or at least the U.S. So the two biggest industries in Northern Maine, as I said, is potato farms and logging. The two biggest industries in Southern Maine has nothing to do with either one of them. It's healthcare and technology. So yes, if you want to call us Northern Massachusetts, okay, but I'm going to call you guys Canadians, because that's what a lot of Canadians do. No offense to any of my Canadian friends, which I have a lot of. So if we're talking about Southern Maine, and we're going to zoom into the state, and we're going to zoom kind of into Southern Maine. And again, I told you this boundary, I should have left it up here. The boundary of Northern Maine is kind of, of Southern Maine is, I'm going to say, I'll throw Fryeburg in there, although I think it's a little further north. Fryeburg right down to maybe Brunswick, Freeport area. To me, anything in this section down through here, this is all Southern Maine. This is where approximately 38 to 40% of the population lives, which is Southern Maine. And again, the two biggest industries, tourism is the biggest industry in the state of Maine, but in Southern Maine, it's healthcare and technology. I mean, you got a lot of different companies in Southern Maine, but healthcare and technology dominates the landscape in terms of industries outside of tourism. So the first thing I'm going to bring your attention to is Sebago Lake. So Sebago Lake is the second largest lake in Maine, and you're seeing a lot of people. Let me turn my tool on again. Probably should leave this on, but you're seeing a lot of people living and moving out throughout this part of Southern Maine. Prices are a little cheaper. It's not that far. Look, I drew a heart. It's not that far from the coast. I mean, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe an hour from here, you can be on the coast of Maine, but it's really not that far. Portland, same thing, hour. South Wyndham, you're 30 minutes. If you're up in Gray, New Gloucester, you're maybe 45 minutes, but it's not that far from the coast, kind of a bigger city, a little more rural out here, but you have a lot of people that are moving to Wyndham and Raymond and Gray, New Gloucester and Casco. And this area all started becoming more and more popular because of Sebago Lake. And this, again, second largest lake in Maine. Lots of activity on this lake all year round. In the summer, obviously, have boating and fishing and water tubing and skiing. And in the wintertime, this is a big ice fishing lake. A lot of shacks, a lot of ice fishing on this lake, all kinds of activity on this lake. A lot of things happening on Sebago Lake. You got Point Sebago Resort, and you got Lakes Sebago Lake State Park. Great places to hang out, go camping. I'm going to change my layers here, because when you look at this, you're going to see a lot of people who have boats on this lake. They tie up along these little coves right here. You have 7-8 boats all tied together, and it's a good time, especially if you own a boat. A lot of fun activities, kids, tubing, water tubing, just hanging out, floating around, a lot of good times. Sebago Lake State Park is an awesome park. I've camped here, been out to the beach. And then I'm also going to bring your attention to this golf course right here, which is on Point Sebago, and it's a link style golf course, and it's an awesome golf course. You get some easier holes right through here, and then you get some harder holes out back here. It's an 18 course par 72 golf course, 18 hole par 72 golf course. I'm about a bogey golfer now. I got down better than that. I got down to like an 8 back in the day, but I'm like a bogey now. So this is like a bogey golf course for me. This is like, I'm going to shoot anywhere from 12 to 18 over par, just, you know, based upon a bogey golfer. So that's kind of the course, and tough holes, easy holes, but definitely a course you want to play. I would not recommend playing it in May, late May, when the bugs come out, especially the black flies, or you'll be miserable. But yeah, Point Sebago Golf Course right here. So I was talking about the area and how a lot of people are moving throughout this area. You can see as I zoom in, kind of the inner cities and stuff, the inner towns, but you got a lot of housing. A lot of people have been moving out to kind of northwest, southern Maine, out through these areas. And again, not that far from the beach, not that far from Portland, but you get the Sebago Lake area, which is a awesome area. And I'll be doing some video tours of Sebago Lake probably this summer, just so you get an idea of it if you haven't been up here or haven't visited, but you're considering moving here. Most of the activity on the lake is on this side of the lake. Again, let me draw this. Is again on this side of the lake. On this side, you got more of campgrounds, and it's definitely more rural. I mean, there's a campground and stuff right here. Quieter on this side of the lake, more activity on this side of the lake, guys. So if that helps, you go back to changing my layers. Here we go. So the other part of kind of the northern part of southern Maine I'm going to talk to you about is Freeport. So Freeport, which really should be called Beanport. Again, I'm going to change my layer. So here you got Freeport, and within Freeport you got Aloe Beans, which is where they were found in kind of the headquarters. And as Aloe Bean continued to grow and grow and grow, you had a lot of outlets called the Freeport outlets now, but you had a lot of other stores that came through here. And now there's a ton of outlet stores from, just name a few, right? There's Coach, there's Old Navy, there's Loft, there's American Eagle. There's a lot of different outlet stores right here in this kind of strip right through here. And then with the stores, you got a brewery, you got food, you got all kinds of stuff to do. So you could, you could come up here, spend a day. Aloe Beans has outdoor concert series right here in the park. But you could spend a day up here walking through Aloe Beans, looking at all the sites, the clothing, all the material they make, and then going to any of the other shops, spending a day eating, doing whatever you want to do. But yeah, Freeport, kind of the northern point of southern Maine, in my opinion. Now, some people may think, Brunswick is, which I couldn't argue it, but when you start looking at Brunswick, to me, it's like you start looking at down east. So I want to say Freeport, right up through Sebago Lake, and then coming down. All right, we're coming down through Freeport. You hit Yarmouth, you hit Falmouth Foreside. A lot of money on Falmouth Foreside. To give you an example, here's Falmouth Foreside, but look at all these these are boats, right? That hang out here, right? So they're all on moorings, but you got, I don't know, probably 300 boats, 400 boats anyways, maybe more on Falmouth Foreside and Falmouth Town Landing, and then you got Falmouth Foreside Boatyard and all that stuff. So you got a lot of boats. Portland Yacht Club's right here. That's what I was thinking of, Portland Yacht Club, which is high-end yacht club. You have a sailing club there. You get some pretty good restaurants. Dockside Grill's really good. Been there a couple times. Good place to eat. But yeah, Falmouth Foreside, high-end stuff. I don't think you can find much under 700,000 in this area. Most places are $1 million plus. But anyways, talking about Maine, right? So as we continue to head down south, you get into Portland, and to me, Portland this is Portland proper, but if you were to look at Portland. I'm going to change my line color just so it highlights better on here. Let's go up here. If you look at Portland, really Portland proper, when you read in the magazines, or you see pictures, and you're reading about all the restaurant area and stuff, that when you say Portland, that's kind of this area right here out on the peninsula. And in this area right here, you got, I heard a rumor, I don't know if it's a rumor, I have never validated this, but we hear this all the time. There are more restaurants per square capita in Portland than there is any other area in the country other than San Francisco. That's what the old folks' tale is. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But what I can tell you is, for every block down through here, there's gonna be 4 or 5 restaurants. I mean, it is crazy how many restaurants down here, and anything you want. Obviously, seafood is the dominant industry in terms of restaurant food, but any type of food you want, you're going to find in Portland, Maine. It seems like there's new restaurants popping up all the time, and you have a lot of world-renowned chefs, you know, that have come up here and made a living and started, you know, their businesses from other parts. You know, you got Duck Fat is one example. You just got a lot of food places here. There's one called Provisions. Oh man, it's so good. Right here, Central Provisions. But these are all a gelato. You got just all kinds of places to eat. One of the most famous places to eat in Portland is called Dimillos Floating Restaurant, which is right here. It's a barge, kind of a boat they turned into a restaurant. Food's okay. I wouldn't say it's the best, but you know, you got the scenic tour, and it's a very, very, very popular place that a lot of people come here to eat at. The younger crowd loves Portland because this is where all the nightlife is. There's a lot of bars, a lot of nightclubs, a lot of things to do in Portland. You got Cross Insurance Arena, which there's different activities there. Used to be lots of concerts there, but that's all moved up to Bangor. You got the Sea Dogs right here, the Portland Sea Dogs, which is a Red Sox farm system, AA baseball team. In the wintertime, you got hockey teams. But Portland, there's no shortage of stuff to do in Portland any time of the year. But if you come here in the summer, it's going to be packed, wall-to-wall people. They shut down the streets during a couple weeks or a week in the summertime. I think it's, I want to say it's in June. For the Old Port Festival, it may be August, but I can't remember. June, July, August, one of those 3 months. Yeah, the Old Port Festival, where they shut down the streets and they have bands in every corner and all kinds of stuff. You can go to all these different mixology bars and whatnot. But here's a couple of things you should do while you're in Portland. You should definitely, walk around, tour the city. You should definitely, if you can, get on a Casco Bay, buy a ticket. It's like $12. Get on a Casco Bay line and go to one of these islands out here. Because it's a different experience, right? You get on one of these islands. If you go to Peaks Island, this is the most popular island in Casco Bay, which is on the outskirts of Portland. You got Casco Bay, Peaks Island. Any of you sea glass lovers or rock hounds, I never got into, going to look for rocks, but I guess people do that. But sea glass, different color sea glass, you might find those unique sea glasses on the beach here. You can walk this whole island. You also have, I think they still do it every Sunday here at Jones Landing. They have Reggae Fest. And so reggae bands playing. You got a lot of, not my crowd anymore. I'm over 50, but if you're in your 20s or early 30s, you have a good time. Reggae Fest, lots of stuff. People pulling in their boats, do the reggae, and then head back. If you just want to see the islands, right, and not really go on a tour, but you just want to kind of get a tour of Casco Bay, I think they still do. It's called a mailboat cruise. So you can pay to go on a mailboat, and they'll deliver mail through these islands, and you can sit back on the boat and do the cruise, and you can visit a lot of these islands, and sometimes they narrate some of where they're going or what it looks like. But guys, if you can do that on a bright sunny day, which in Maine, July and August, I mean, It's almost sunny. It seems like it's sunny every day. You're gonna want to bring a camera and you're gonna want to shoot a lot of video because it is just beautiful, the bay and all these islands as you're on a boat going through them. Portland, as I said, industry, healthcare in terms of not necessarily patient care, although there's Maine Medical Center is one of the most world-renowned medical centers in the world. You have healthcare industry, and that's not just patient care. You have a lot of R&D. You have a lot of other stuff like supportive of healthcare, like anything from plastic surgery to sports medicine to I don't know, whatever healthcare. But yeah, you have a lot of healthcare industry in Portland, and then you have a lot of high tech and software development companies, IT in Portland, in the surrounding areas. So I heard a statistic that in Southern Maine, there's 2 jobs for every 1 person that lives here. Starting pay for most jobs are probably around 50 grand a year at the low end. I mean, that's pretty much not any skill, don't have a college degree. Well, maybe you have a college degree, you're just out of college, you're just starting. But there's no shortage of jobs. Maine has the lowest unemployment in the country last time I checked, and there's a reason. A lot of people live, a lot of industry in terms of high tech and healthcare in the Portland region, Southern Maine in general, and those industries in general are some of the higher paying industries. I mean, I think the average family income in Southern Maine is probably just over 100,000, which is pretty high considering other parts of the country. And I'm not saying everybody makes over 100,000, but the average is over 100,000. If you a family of 4, both husband and wife work, you're definitely gonna make over 100,000, maybe 2. So just things to think about as you're thinking about maybe moving to Maine. The other thing I want to talk about is Casco Bay. So this is the deepest and not the coldest. It probably is the coldest, but it's definitely the deepest harbor on the East Coast. And so when you get cold water, average of like say 60 degrees in the summertime and deep, you get pretty bountiful lobsters, right? So Maine is synonymous for its lobsters. A lot of lobster fishermen throughout here, a lot of lobster traps all throughout Casco Bay and up and down the coast of Maine. But you'll see it a lot of time. You see a lot of lobsters. You see seals in the water quite a bit if you have a boat and you're traveling around. You see a lot of people boating, going to these islands. Pretty awesome place to live, pretty awesome place to visit. To me, Portland, really, if you're not going to live right in Portland, downtown Portland, this is kind of the Portland region, if you will. You got South Portland, Westbrook, parts of Portland, North Deering, Riverton, Deering, down in the South Portland area. A lot of people live. I'm going to say about maybe 300 or so thousand people live in this region alone. Maybe a little less, maybe 200,000. But in Southern Maine, I think I already said this, 38 to 40% of the population of Maine, which is 1.3 million in total, a little over 1.3, about 40% of that population lives in Southern Maine. But a lot of people live in this area, Cumberland County, because of its proximity to Portland. So just food for thought. As we're talking about Southern Maine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of come down the coast first, and then we'll go inland. So I'm going to picture you're on a boat and you're tooling down. I've done this many times. You come down out of Portland and you're going to hit Portland Headlight, the first really big landmark. So Headlight, this lighthouse, is the most photographed lighthouse in the world. Here at Fort Williams, beautiful, picturesque scenes. You can actually walk out on these rocks, although if you're not very steady on your feet, I wouldn't do it because they're really sharp, but you can see some interesting sea life on here. You got to watch the tides because sometimes the water comes up and hits some of these holes in the rocks and it blows up in the air. It can knock you over, it can knock you off. But they do prefer that you don't go out on the rocks, but I've seen many people do it. Depends on how daring you are and how courageous. And if you fall, you're going to probably not wish you didn't because a lot of this is sharp and it's jagged. But that being said, just getting you closer to the ocean. So Portland Headlight, Fort Williams, lots of things that happen here. In the summer and fall, you have a lot of activity, a lot of festivals, a lot of, you know, people flying kites, picnics. The radio stations generally have festivals out here once a year or twice a year, different radio stations. There's all kinds of stuff that happens at Fort Williams in the summertime, and place to, even if you just want to get out, park and walk around, it's pretty big space. So definitely something I recommend you guys do in the summertime. If you got nothing else going on, nothing killing, you know, pressing, go up to Fort Williams, bring your camera, shoot the headlight, look at the scene. They got a bunch of scenic overlooks that you can look at, and look into Casco Bay, and then, you know, spend a day in the grass, either, you know, playing soccer or volleyball, or, you know, picnic, whatever. Good for a lot of dogs, friendly place. So Portland Headlight is a spot you want to visit, and definitely tour when you have some time. Again, continuing down on a boat. Pretend we're on a boat. We're going to come around Cape Elizabeth, and we're going to get into Kettle Cove again. A little beach area here. Nothing too crazy. Just Crescent Beach area, a little beach area here. People hang out here quite a bit. But all this, tons of housing, tons of places where people live. Development happen out there. There's not enough of it because there's so many people that want to move to Maine. But coming around, you got Richmond Island. I'll talk about Richmond Island from a different perspective in a minute, but about 20 years ago, I used to camp out on this island. So we'd pull a permit, and a bunch of us, about 25 of us, would take a boat. Would take our boats from Kettle Cove or from Two Lights right here, and would camp, would transport everybody and all our stuff, and would camp for a whole weekend. Sometimes once we did it for a whole week, just right on the beach. And the deer, when this is low tide, come across right here, kind of like a little jetty, if you will, and they hang out here. But you can walk around the whole island. It's really secluded. Pull a permit and camp. You're not going to have many people. We camp right on the beach in our tents and have cookouts and bonfires at night, and it's a good time. Kids loved it. Kids were young then, and they just loved being on the beach and being on an island. And you're kind of like Gilligan's Island, but not marooned so bad. You can see land right there. But you're coming around on the boat around Richmond Island. You got a pretty popular beach, little beach here called Higgins Beach. We're getting into Scarborough now. You know, this is a pretty high end, not high end like Falmouth Forsyth, but you get some money down here. People living in these houses. So if you want anything, these little nooks and crannies are all going down the coast of Maine. That places you can live, rent while you're looking for a place to buy or build. If there's nothing on the market that's going to fit your needs right then, or if you're building. So these are some places that a lot of people move to. Coming down again, following a boat. You're coming down, you're going to come around Prouts Neck. So Prouts Neck is, you got a lot of celebrities that live out here. I know Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, lives out here, and I think it's this house right here. I'm not sure, though. It's one of these houses along here. I know this because when he benched Tom Brady for 4 games, in the summertime, the planes would be flying with their banners saying, "Go back home, we don't want you here. You know, how dare you ban Tom Brady for 4 games? He's a god, and you're wrong." And just kind of funny watching all that. But I'm gonna actually do a video tour of driving kind of Prouts Neck. I'm gonna come right up through here, and you can't go past. I think it's either right here or right here, but you can't go past it because it's all private after that. But when you get out, I think it's up here. You can go away. If you look, I'll stop and I'll shoot my camera looking across, looking at the Casco Bay, looking down at Woods Beach. Oh man, it's beautiful. And again, this is coming from somebody who lives here year round and has done this many times. It's beautiful. Got a golf course right here, Prouts Neck. Tough course, right on the ocean. Depends if you get wind. These holes right here, if you get wind, a little tough, but played this a few times. Fun golf course, again, links style. Just got to watch out when you play it, because if the wind's coming off the bay a little bit, it's tough. Or if you've had rain, this gets kind of soggy if you've had a bunch of rain. Generally, in the summertime, it's pretty dry around here, but if you're hitting it late, early spring or something, it's gonna might be a little soggy. I've played with waterproof shoes, obviously, before, but As the summer goes on, it dries out. Really nice golf course to play. A lot of people play it. You might see some celebrities playing this 18-hole course. So Prouts Neck is a cool spot. And then you get right in here the Nonesuch River Inlet and Pine Point. Again, you got these little restaurants, if you will. These are like, here's one, the bait shed, where you sit out on the dock and eat. Or you got Salty Bay, where you sit out here and eat, and they got a bar in here. You can get live lobsters, obviously, from Bailey's. You can go in and just order some live lobsters and go cook them yourself, or they cook them for you. Pine Point, and then you get the beaches, right? So this is where we start getting into some of the sandy beaches of Maine, right? So from Pine Point all the way down to Camp Ellis is all sandy beaches, right? So you know, I often walk my dog. I come in about Bayview, and I walk my dog to Camp Ellis and back. It's about an hour there and back, maybe an hour and 10 minutes. But if you do all of this, I think it's 7 miles. I'd have to look. So I know it's 14 because my sister and I have gone all the way and back. So I'm pretty sure it's about 7 miles, but awesome beach to walk on. You got all kinds of life on this beach in the summertime, all kinds of people hanging out, you know, all kinds of beach activities. You got parasailing out here. You got people fishing. You got people not snowboarding. What the heck am I saying? You got people boogie boarding. Surfing, boogie boarding. I don't know if that's called when you throw it along the tide, the ground where it's really, there's not a lot of water. You jump on it and you kind of ride it. I can't remember what that's called, but you have a lot of kids that do that. So a lot of activity on the beach here. I'm going to go back to Pine Point for a second, and I'm going to talk about Bailey's Campground, which is right here. So I'm generally not one to, pimp a business, but I'm going to, for a minute, talk about Bailey's Campground, only because I'm a little prejudiced. I have a camper on Bailey's Campground, a fifth wheel. My wife and I do. I think it's this one right here. But this is the largest, I was told this is the largest campground in New England. There's about, 800 sites. They get an adult pool. We love it because they have an adult pool. So when our kids were younger, we used to get a 2-hour respite. We got 5 kids, so 2-hour respite, and they wouldn't allow kids in here. It's an adult pool, so you have to be 18 or older, and they got bar and food, and you hang out and listen to live music and stuff. But that's one of the attractions. You can do all kinds of games, basketball, volleyball, kickball, all kinds of stuff. Obviously tons of cornhole tournaments. They got stores up here, fishing ponds here. That's the back side. This is the front side. I tell you what, on October 15th, because this closes down towards the middle of October, they do an early Halloween, and people come from all walks of life, and not necessarily people that are camping here or are seasonals here. And you should just see some of the costumes. It's crazy. We used to have a campground on L Street, which is right here. And the amount of people, they block the streets out, that coming down, all these costumes, and all the campsites are giving away all kinds of booze and stuff. Fun time. You could get wrecked pretty bad, but Bailey's Campground, definitely an awesome place to camp if you're gonna rent a cabin or even bring in your RV. If you're from, people laugh at us because we live literally like 11 miles from here, but we spend a lot of our summer here because it's kind of like a vacation away from a vacation, right? The name of the state, Maine's tagline is Vacation Land. So this is a kind of a vacation of vacation. This is my wife's favorite place in the summertime. It's like she calls it her sanctuary. But what we also do is we have an electric golf cart that's road legal. So we take our golf cart out to the main road here, and we drive up to Ken's, right up here, Ken's place. So seafood, guys, you want to check out Ken's place. Lobster bisque, clams, lobster rolls, fisherman dinners, scallops, all that stuff is Ken's. Very popular place. A lot of people go to Ken's. Great Bloody Marys, by the way, here. Definitely want to go to Ken's. So we get on a golf cart from Bailey's to come up here, have a eat, maybe a drink, and then we head back down Pine Point Road. Take a right here and head down East Grand Avenue, and we head right into Nonesuch Beach. We either go to one of our favorite spots in Nonesuch Beach is Pirates Patio, which I'm looking for right now. It's right over here. It's Pirates Patio, which this is a ship that got shipwrecked and they left it in. They kind of built around it, but you got Pirates Patio, an old ship that turned into a little dive bar, if you will. You got live music out here, people sitting around under the umbrellas and stuff. You can walk right out on the beach when you're done. You can't bring food or beverage out through here, but you can. It's like you're being right on the beach. You just got these dunes right here, and then you're on the beach. Another cool spot to go is up here, the Royal Anchor. Let me see, where's the Royal Anchor? It's up here, right here, the Royal Anchor, right? So here, summertime, come down here. You got live bands here almost every weekend night. And this is a little tiki hot bar, and they got all kinds of places that you can sit out on the beach and drink and eat and listen to cool, awesome music. And I tell you what, in the summertime in Maine, the temperature's right, no breeze coming in. It's beautiful out here. But we take our golf cart and we head down to Old Orchard and we visit those places. We have one of our favorite restaurants down here is Joseph's by the Sea, which is really, it burned down not too long ago, but they rebuilt it right here, and they have what is called the beach burger. My wife loves this burger. Awesome food, awesome seafood too. Any of these places have awesome seafood, but you got Joseph's by the Bee. You got the Brunswick, which is you got a bar right here, and inside as well on the bottom floor of this building, on the main floor, if you will, and you got live entertainment, and you can sit out here on the beach. They often have volleyball games going on out here in the summertime. So a lot of entertainment, a lot of things to do on Nonesuch Beach in the summertime, both adult and kid friendly. They got a Palace Playhouse, a mini amusement park, roller coaster, pirate ship, all kinds of stuff here, all kinds of video games. The square, there's all kinds of food right through here, pier fries and pizza and ice cream and all kinds of food, Chinese, little Chinese restaurants throughout here, Italian, again, just a ton of things to do in Nonesuch Beach. Strike Zone's good little restaurant that has a grill, pretty good food. But you got all kinds of nightlife and bars and live entertainment going on at night in the summertime. Wintertime, pretty dead. It's a ghost town. And just mind you, this is a big tourist attraction for Canadians. So a lot of the French Canadians come down here and hang out at Nonesuch Beach all summer long, from, I would say, right when school starts to get out all the way until they go back in September. It's always packed down here. It's a big tourist spot for Canadians. But anyways, awesome place to be. Nonesuch Beach is really cool. Good place to hang out, good place to visit. Even if you're gonna move here and not be on the beach, go down to Nonesuch Beach. You'll have fun. Some pretty good golf courses. You got Dunegrass, tough course. First hole is a par 5 right here. It's a tough course. I've played it many times. So you got Dunegrass, and then you got Biddeford Saco Country Club, which is one of my favorite country clubs. Not as tough as Dunegrass, but a lot of people play here. I mean, there's a waiting list to be on the waiting list here, so you really get but awesome golf course. Love this golf course. You got other golf courses. You got Nonesuch. Where's Nonesuch? Up Nonesuch Golf Course. That's more in Scarborough. Yeah, up here. I'm getting away from where I need to be, but you got Nonesuch Golf Course up here, and then you got Willowdale. Yeah, so there's Willowdale. Where the heck is Nonesuch? I can't believe. Oh, it's right here. Nonesuch Golf Course. You got a firing range or a Scarborough Fire. Pretty big game association firing here, but you got Nonesuch Golf Course. You got Willowdale. You got obviously I talked about Bailey's, and then Dunegrass and a bit of a Saco Country Club. Those are kind of the courses I play. But if you're a golfer, definitely want to be golfing in Maine. Awesome place to be golfing in Maine in the summertime. But you come down the coast, past Nonesuch Beach, and you hit kind of in Camp Alice. And again, this river is the Saco River. And I love this river. It's probably the best fishing river in Maine. you gotta know how to get down it. I mean, it's marked and it has buoys and stuff, but you still gotta know how to get down it and where you can go for the fishing spots. But so what happens is in the spring, May time, you have striper fish that they come up from Maryland and Virginia. They come up from up there, down there, and they come all the way up from the Chesapeake Bay, and they come all the way up to Maine up here because the water's a little colder. And then what they do is they push the bait fish. So bait fish, they're hungry themselves, right? They come into the river and they go all the way up the river as far as I can go. And there's dams right here, and so the bait fish come all the way up here, and they're eating their fish. Well, they're also the prey because the stripers, and when I say a striper, it's a sea bass, and 3-4 foot long fish come up through here and they push that bait fish against those walls, and it's a feeding frenzy. So they come up at high tide and they go out at low tide. So when you're fishing this river, you know when they're in, and schoolies or standing on some big monster fish up through here, and you're up here fishing, and you're gonna catch them if you know what you're doing. And of course, I can give you some tips on how to do that because I've caught many a striper in and around here. But what I do, little trade secret, is I come out with my boat and I head up to Richmond Island, which I was talking about, where we camped out, and right in here, you just throw an anchor in about 30 feet of water, maybe 35 feet of water, and you throw out a shabiki rig. Now, shabiki rig is just a line with multiple hooks. They're shining. They have a little green like feather on them, and they attract the mackerel. And we call it a Christmas tree because you can throw a shabiki rig, and it's like 8 or 9, 10 hooks on it, a little weight on the bottom, and you're just bouncing up and down a little bit, and the mackerel fish will come and they'll just bite the heck out of it. You'll hook right on. And we call them a Christmas tree because you pull it out and you got sometimes a shabiki rig can be full, but even if you have 5 or 6, it's like a Christmas tree. You're catching all these fish that you're pulling out at the same time, right? They're all hanging off it. So then you put them in either in a cooler, or if you have a place to store your fish to keep them live bait well to keep them. Then I tool back. You can tool around these islands and go striper fishing. Depends on the tide, but you come back into the channel or into the river, and you put a live mackerel on it. You hook it through the gill, through the mouth, and you let it swim around. You keep your bail open, and you'll get a hit. And then because the striper fishes, they just go after those mackerel. They swallow them whole, and bam, now you get a striper fish on the line, and it's a fun time pulling them in. And there's a rule. I think they have to be at least 28 inches long, and then you have to throw them back, I think, if they're over 40. I can't remember the rules. There's you can look it up, but you can get some monster striper fish, and they're good eating, right? They're a bass fish. They're sea bass, but definitely Saco River and all this. And I'll talk about Saco and Biddeford, and I'll highlight both these cities. We'll do a showcase on Biddeford and Saco in another video coming up soon. But this whole area is just plentiful of life, all kinds of places to visit and things to see and visit and tour, and the sites. And but you're coming down again on a boat, coming down through, this is called Saco Bay, coming down through Saco Bay, head around Biddeford Pool, very wealthy, well-to-do area. But you can see the beaches are more sandier down through here than they were up in northern Maine, up and kind of when we were up higher up in Portland, where they're more rugged. So that's the big difference between southern Maine and down east Maine. Down east Maine is kind of the rest of the Maine. You don't have the rugged, jagged coastline like you do as much up there, like you do up there, like you wouldn't down here, right? It's more sandy beaches. A lot of lighthouses. Nubble's another one. Coming down, what I want to do is talk to you about Kennebunkport. So here we are, coming out of Saco Bay, around Biddeford Pool, down the coast, and you got Cape Porpoise, another little area with a bunch of little islands. You get down to Kennebunkport, very popular place right in here. You get a lot of little shops, little boutique shops, a little big restaurant scene, a lot of food places throughout all here. A lot of people from out of state come up here and hang out in Kennebunkport. Very wealthy, high affluent area, Kennebunkport. A lot of money in Kennebunkport. But one of my wife's favorite places, mine and my wife's, is right here, Arundel Wharf. So you go down a wharf and you pretty good food, and you know, especially on a nice night, you're sitting kind of on the river, but it feels like you're in an intercoastal waterway, if you will, and you're having a cocktail with some good food with friends and family, and you're sitting right out there. It's a good time. But what I want to bring your attention to is right here, Walker's Point, which is right outside of Kennebunkport, and this is the Bush compound. So George W. bought this. I'm sorry, George H. bought this back in the day, and used to see the first George Bush on here all the time, especially when he left his presidency. You'd see him in on Walker's Point all the time in the summertime, and you can actually pull over right here and film what's going on Walker's Point. And you don't know if there's stuff going on because the Secret Service will be in town, but there's a ton of activity on Walker's Point. If the Secret Service is in town, the Bushes may be in town themselves. But you know, people have been known to see other presidents come in. They've known to see dignitaries from all over the world, other presidents. So a lot of activity at Walker's Point. Not only is it you're just looking for any activity from the Bush compound, but just the site. And it's a very popular place where people look at, and sometimes George W. and Laura and his kids are there, but it's not as busy as it used to be since George H. and Barbara have both passed away. He used to be here all the time. He'd take on his boat, and I was on my boat once, and I mean, these big boats are coming at you with 50 cows on the front. You know, it's the President George H., and he's out fishing, right? And he's just a local guy and hangs out with you and talks to you, just like, you know, he's just like another guy. Pretty cool. But Walker's Point is another place you're going to want to bring your camera and take pictures. So again, as you're heading down the coast, you get all these sandy beaches in through Wells and down through Algonquit, really until you get to kind of Bald Head, and then it gets a little rough again as you're heading down into New Hampshire. Even Portsmouth, which is not in Maine, it's in New Hampshire. Pretty, you know, it's like 45 minutes from my house. Lots of stuff to do down in Portsmouth. But what I'm trying to say is really Southern Maine is just an awesome place to live and visit and see. So if you don't, you know, if you're looking for something more economical, you know, a little cheaper than kind of living on the coast of Maine, there is development happening in Maine, but I mean, the average price of a house in Biddeford, Saco anyways is like $450. So it's higher as you get closer to Portland, Scarborough, you know, Westbrook, Portland, Scarborough, Falmouth, Yarmouth. But people are moving out west too, to Hollis and Buxton and Waterboro and Shapley. And you're only about 45 minutes from the coast or from Portland. You know, there's a lot of activity out here in Lake Arrowhead. People have built around the lakes, and you can see all different roads and houses that have been going in, and more developments happening out here. You know, I said Leamington, Cornish. My daughter lives out in Cornish, actually in Hiram. Her and her son and our grandson, East Parsonsfield. I mean, a lot of people moving out through here. You know, when I was a kid growing up, when I was in the 70s, this was like way out in the sticks, right? But now it's not. It's very popular. A lot of people are moving to these, especially Hollis, Buxton, Standish, kind of the Bonnie Eagle region, Dayton, very right outside of Saco on the way to Hollis, Waterboro, Alfred, Lyman, Sanford is kind of the last frontier. Sanford was what Biddeford was 10 years ago. It was an old mill town, hadn't been redeveloped. It's starting there. It's still slow. There's not a ton of stuff going on, but pretty big metropolitan area in terms of Maine. You have a lot of people that live out here, and you know, people are moving on the outskirts, getting away from kind of the coast as much. You got Shapley and Acton, you got lakes and all kinds of stuff, but yeah, awesome place. Southern Maine, again, about 38 to 40% of the population. And as I said, I'm going to be showcasing all of Southern Maine and more videos to drop. So if you're thinking about moving to Maine, thinking about moving to Southern Maine, you're looking for a career change, or you're just looking for a change of life, you want to live someplace that's safe, well, then Maine is definitely for you. And then lastly, I told you I'd give you two tidbits of two big benefits of living in Maine. So one's going to be a little controversial, but I'll start with the first one, which isn't, and that is Maine has this obscure law. I think only out of 5 other states have it, and it's called an implied warranty law. So that means that anything you buy, well, as a citizen of Maine, other than a used car, has to be warranted from 4 years. That's what Maine considers the life cycle of whatever the product you buy. So what do I mean by that? Let me give an example. It's the best way to illustrate it. And I had an iPhone 10 at the times, a few years ago. And I had it for about 3 years because I'm not an early adopter of technology. And I like, once I buy it, I kind of hang on for a while. I'm not the one that's going to go out and get the latest, greatest iPhone once it comes out. And one day I was using it. My whole screen went blue. I just lost everything. And I didn't have Apple Care on it, and I wasn't paying the extra money to have insurance on or whatever. And I took it into the iPhone store at the Main Mall, Apple, and I said, I think my phone's done. And sure enough, they looked at it. I said, yeah, do you have Apple Care? I said, no. And they're like, okay, well, then you're going to have to buy a new phone. And I said, oh, no, I don't. Have you ever heard of the implied warranty? And of course, the sales guy, whether he did or not, he's claimed that he didn't. And I said, well, you owe me, you have to repair this or replace it for free because it's within the 4-year warranty. And he looked at me like I was like from another planet. And I said, go get your manager. So he went and got his manager. And sure enough, manager came out, showed him the implied warranty. It's right online, guys. Public Advocate's Office. And it's clearly stated. It's a statute. And sure enough, Apple replaced the phone for free. Gave me an iPhone 11. So that's an example of an implied warranty for 4 years. It just happened to my daughter this past weekend. She called me and said, Dad, my TV is gone in my room. And we looked at it, and sure enough, and her TV was just a year old. So without a receipt, it was a Vizio 50-inch, brought it into Walmart where we bought it, and didn't have the receipt. Looked it up in the computer, saw that it was purchased on April 2nd of 2022, a little over a year, without a receipt. They wouldn't give her back her money, but they gave her a gift card because she didn't have the receipt. So she got her money back for the TV that she could apply to any other TV that's in there if she wanted to. So, it's an implied Maine warranty, pretty cool consumer protection clause in Maine. I think we're only one of 5 states or 6 states that have this obscure law. And a lot of locals don't know about it, right? Until I tell them, and they think I'm kidding. And then they say, go do it yourself and you'll see. And even some businesses don't know, and you have to show them the law. And once they do, most of them will be like, okay, yeah, you're right, and here we go. Nobody wants to advertise it, obviously, if they're one that's selling a product and it has a problem. But it's either for the manufacturer or the seller, one or the other. So generally, you can get away with it for the seller portion of the side if you have an issue with a product. All right, the second little tidbit of living in Maine that I consider kind of one of the benefits, and this is the one that's going to be a little controversial just because of what's happened around our country lately, and that is our gun laws. So Maine's gun laws are some of the most protected in the country. Actually, I was told that Maine has the strongest protection for gun laws in the entire country, and the Constitution says, the right of Maine citizens to bear arms shall never be challenged or should never be questioned, something along those lines, right? Because Maine has some of the most stringent gun laws in terms of protection for guns, not against guns. And I understand this can be kind of controversial because, there's a lot of problems that we're having across this country in other parts in other states. Look what happened in Nashville not too long ago, in Texas, even in Sandy Hook years ago, right? In Florida, right? You have a lot of these people that have these guns and, the mass murders, and it's horrible. And of course they go after the guns. Now I'm going to tell you, I'm a veteran. I have guns. They're all in a safe. I believe in our Second Amendment. I believe in the right to bear arms. But that being said, the other thing I want to point out is Maine is the safest state in the country. In 2022, it was rated the safest state, and it's constantly in the top 3 as one of the safest states in the country. And I'm going to do a whole video on why Maine is so safe. But so we have this gun law. You have open carry and conceal. I can't even speak right now. Open carry and conceal laws, which you don't have to get a permit. You can carry anytime you want in the state of Maine. And yet we're the safest state in the country. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Obviously, if you have a felony or you're a felon, then you're not going to be able to carry a gun or even own a gun. But I say that because I find it kind of interesting that we have the most stringent laws in terms of protection, and then we have, well, the safest states. So what does it say about a gun, right? It's not, to me, it's not the gun, it's the operator. Obviously taking the tool away from some of these operators go for a big help in terms of shutting down on the violence. But yeah, shall never be challenged, shall never be questioned. The right to bear arms in the state of Maine. So those are two interesting facts, two things that you can use, two reasons why you want to live in Maine, if you will. There's lots of them. I'm going to share with you many more now on. But as we continue, as I continue to drop content, I hope that you subscribe to this channel and ring that bell. And I'm going to be showing you. I'm going to be going around Southern Maine and showing you different places, showing you some of the houses that you can buy, some of the scenic views, and just subscribe and be the first to be notified when I drop new content. I'm going to do it a couple times a week. So guys, thanks for your time. I know this is a little bit on the long side. Future videos now will be a little shorter unless I get into a whole blog tour on a video vlog, if you will, on a neighborhood or a city. I'll probably be doing Saco and Biddeford next. And then we'll get up to Portland, Scarborough, and other, we'll talk about, and we'll also talk about some of the things to do here and some of the activities and the nightlife and the restaurant scene and why you might want to really consider living in Maine if you're considering making a move to a different part of the country and you've never been up here. Maine's not a secret anymore, but I'm here to exploit why it's not from a Mainer's perspective. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful. Send us comments, questions, link below. All the information is. If you have any questions, we'll answer every question you have, my team and I. And if you want to see something that I haven't, shown you, I told you I was going to do some videos from a car going up Prouts Neck and all that area. But do some tours of some video tours and get you to see the coast of Maine and maybe other things you want to see, Sebago Lake or any of the little lakes and rivers, fishing, whatever you want to see if you're thinking about making a move here. And until then, I hope to see you around town. And if you're coming, we'll help you make a smooth move. All right, guys, have a good day, and we'll chat soon.